PGA DFS and golf betting fans, it is major championship time, and my voice always goes from like an 8.9 to a 10 pretty darn quickly here. So please bear with me here as I try to contain my excitement for the next 5 hours, as lock is just 5.5 hours away. And I am joined today not by Ben Rasa, my buddy, he is on vacation, but with two of the top DFS players in the world, not just golf, but every sport out there. I don't know of many shows or sites that can say that, and I am so excited to be joined by my buddy Alex Baker and David Bergman. Whistles go, woo, woo. I love it. I love it. Welcome to the show here on the Stokastic YouTube channel. Alex, I'm going to bring you in first. Tell me how you're feeling about this week's Open Championship. Are you ready to go win the Millie and then go play the old course yourself? What's your plan after you win the Millie?
Oh yeah, let's go.
Back to Scotland, right? Where it all started.
Here's the thing is, like, I thought me and Dave would be big reality TV stars by now. Like, unfortunately, that hasn't happened yet. So now, like, it probably wouldn't have mattered if I won the million if everything turned out right. But now that raises the stakes that this show didn't take off. And like, if I don't win a million this week, it could be the last week.
Could be. It could be. And David, how about you? Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining. Pleasure to have you on. What are you going to do after you win the Millie?
Well, I mean, I always go to Disney World every time. So
yes, there we go. That's the
trend going. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'll be down to Florida soon. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would just, drive an hour and a half east, and I'd be there at Disney World. But then I would hop on a plane over to Scotland and play the old course. That's after I win the Open Championship Millie Maker this week. But thrilled to have you guys on the show tonight. We're going to go through our normal show and then add in a couple of new elements to have you guys on. So we always start off first, little waves, weathers, and withdraw. And what we're going to do here, Alex, is I'm going to bring you on and talk about our strokes gain weather splits tool. Now, I will say I'm thankful that there doesn't seem to be much of an edge this week, but why don't you just quickly go over that tool for all of our listeners and what the tool says this week?
Yeah, I mean, like, we've been really researching how does weather affect, the golfers, and that's paid off huge dividends. Like earlier in the year, I can't remember, it was like the Masters that had like crazy weather splits, or it was one of the majors, but it's like you stacked up the AM wave and you got
PGA Championship. Yeah.
PGA Championship. You had like crazy profits. So like, it seems like that's just a thing that people don't adjust to enough. But, another good thing about the tool is it tells you when you don't have to really factor the weather in. And that seems to be more the flavor this week, where the weather on Friday and Thursday and Friday looks almost like identical. So
yep.
There's not going to be an edge in the full slate. Of course, we'll have to pay attention to Showdown because like the early waves often have better weather in Showdown. So
yep.
That's going to be my angle this week for the main slate. It's not really moving the needle much, but yep. We'll see when it comes to each individual day.
Yeah, totally agree there in terms of what the weather is looking like this week. Just want to go into just a little bit more detail on what exactly the tool does show us. Alex, you and I have talked about this in pretty big detail. What it does is it just projects out how much a golfer is going to gain or lose based on their tee time. And also, it gets more increasing as the miles per hour of the wind goes up. So anything over 20 miles per hour, it incrementally increases at a rapid rate rather than in the first 20 miles per hour. I just wanted to bring that up on how it works going forward. I have been able to use the tool as early or as late as last week, Alex. There was a huge weather edge at the Scottish Open for the first round, only between the AM and PM on Thursday. And what I did is I took it over to PrizePicks, sponsor of this show, and was able to bet the over on all of the afternoon guys of their round score. Was able to hit 4 and 5 X's there. It was awesome. So use that tool. Check it out. And Dave, how do you see the weather this week? Are you seeing it as the same as the weather tool is here for us?
Yeah, I wouldn't, I always look at the weather, and no doubt, if you don't do that, you're missing a lot on whatever you're doing with golf. But this week, yeah, I mean, there's slight advantage, perhaps the Thursday morning, just the way that it goes, but nothing that you need to really build too much into your models and your selections or what you're thinking. I think, yeah, pick the guys that you think are going to do better, and that's the way to go for this particular tournament, which is a surprise for St. Andrews. I mean, I haven't played the course, but I've been to the course. And, you're going to have pretty bad weather there a lot of the time. So it's very interesting that we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, Alex and I, we spent a week over in Scotland together, and we'd be out on the course, and it would be sunshine and 60, and then the next second it was raining and 40. So it can happen over there on a change of a dime. We know that. But go ahead, Alex.
The crazy thing is, like, I thought I was just doing poorly because I suck at golf, but it was actually this bad Scotland weather.
That's what we got to believe it on.
Yeah.
Blame it on me as well. That and Caddy Masters not letting me tee off from the tee that I wanted to, but that's another story for another time. Now, on to withdrawals. Luckily, Daniel Berger is the only name that has done it, and he did it like last week. Thank you, Daniel, if you're watching this show. You didn't cost me any money this week. I appreciate it. So that's good. And now what I want to do is I just want to breeze through the waves. Then we'll get into some rankings of players. If you do want to play a slight weather edge, these golfers are going out tomorrow morning. Colin Morikawa, Rory McIlroy, and Xander Schauffele, quite a threesome there. Shane Lowry, Justin Thomas, Victor Hovland, along with Zalatoris, Matsuyama, and Finau. Now on the other side, these golfers could be lower owned because they're going off in the afternoon. That's Tiger Woods with Matt Fitzpatrick and Max Homa, Jordan Spieth with John Rahm and Harold Varner, along with Patrick Cantlay, Sam Burns, and Mito Pereira. Those are kind of your highlight marquee groups. As we move into our first rank 'em, and guys, I put these golfers together with a few reasons. The first three we're going to talk about are projected to be the three highest owned studs of the slate, and they are Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, and Matthew Fitzpatrick, all projected right around or over 20%. You can find, of course, the full fields projection on Stokastic.com. And I believe, Alex, that is one of our free tools today, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the ownership projection is totally free. So Xander, like, this is not going to shock anyone, but after winning 2 tournaments in a row, people are on him. So
yeah, right. Wow, what a surprise.
Like, I hope I'm not giving away the secret sauce here.
Yeah, I don't think so. Not at least with Xander. But given these ownership numbers, Dave, I'm going to kick it to you. Why don't you give me how you're going to rank these three this week? I'm going to assume there's no full fades of them, right?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, so DraftKings put out their salaries before the end of last tournament. I think had they waited, Xander would have been a bit bumped up, right? I mean, I think that's clear. I think, yeah, you can't fade him. I mean, Rory is the most expensive one on the slate, I think, if I remember. Yeah, I guess tied to Scotty. So I guess slight lower ownership for him over the three, but Fitzpatrick has proven that he is not someone that you want to shy away from. He's a good golfer. He is in the action a lot of the time. So yeah, I mean, I think for me, I have them all fairly high owned, not crazy ownership, just because we have such a crazy slate this time, so many good golfers. But I do think, just Rory, just by the salary, will be slightly under the other two.
Yeah. Now, Alex, I'm going to go just a little bit deeper with my question here. Matt Fitzpatrick has pretty much shown that he can play anywhere, and he comes from England, so one would assume he's good at link-style courses, right? But his best finish in an Open Championship is a tied for 20th. So do you look at something like that in your analysis, given that he's just not good at this event, and maybe bump him down a little bit as compared to, say, Xander and Rory, both who have a top 5 at the event? Or does that not factor into you at all in your decision-making?
Well, I think Fitzpatrick, he's someone that has been really solid, like, overall, a good period of time, but he's been like really hot recently. So like in our recent form model, he's at minus 2.2 strokes. But the Vegas lines are kind of indicating a different story where that's more in line with his 1 year average of minus 1.9 strokes per round. So I think that like maybe people are going to be looking too much at the recent results there. And I feel like, my heart's telling me that like these other guys that are in the same range, like Xander, like I guess guys higher like Rahm, Thomas, Scheffler like just have a little bit better track records. So factoring the ownership, I'm kind of under on Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I am as well. Given the fact that he's near 20%, and you've got Justin Thomas, John Rahm, Scotty Scheffler, all projected at or under 10%. I mean, these guys are, granted, I know they're higher salary. For me, just easier to get to. We're going to get into those lower owned studs in just a second. So for me, Rory and Xander are very close 1-2, but I am, as you said, Alex, underweight on Matt Fitzpatrick this week. So interesting to note there. Okay, our second one is those low owned studs. I just mentioned Scotty Scheffler and John Rahm, but Colin Morikawa, the defending champion golfer of the year, is going to be the lowest owned golfer, above 8,000 this week, possibly, definitely above 9,000. So, David, what do you make of that? Now, I'm an OG Colin Morikawa guy, but I'm seeing that he's losing about, I shouldn't say losing, he's gaining half a stroke less on his approaches than he was this year. So, this time last year. So, we knew regression would happen, right? But he's still amazing at the statistical category.
Yeah, is good, but I haven't seen any indication that he's going to switch it around this week. His salary is higher than Fitzpatrick's, right? I mean, if you put any recency in your models, very hard to make a case for Morikawa. I personally am really fading him right now. Things might change, of course, but for now, I wouldn't. I mean, I don't. Look, it's a good play though, right? I mean, it is, if you want the low ownership kind of shot in the dark, it's not a bad move, but I don't see that his recent performance warrants going too deep on him.
Let me give you one more thing before I move on to Alex, though.
Sure.
In major championships, since he's turned pro, he's 9 of 10 making the cut with 6 top 10s. Is this just a guy that can turn it on when it matters most?
It's a good question. I mean, I can't look, those are big numbers, right? But I think the recency also is important. So I still will fade him probably, but not a bad play.
Scotty Scheffler and John Rahm. Either of those guys overweight in your player pool this week?
Rahm. He's missed one cut this year. Am I right? I think I think he's won only one tournament, right? But like
Mexico.
Yeah, exactly. Just like that. But I personally think he's the best golfer out there right now. Just overall round play. This course isn't exactly maybe perfect for him, but he's not bad at any course. And I think, if he just has a solid couple days and puts himself towards the top, I think he can easily take it home. So I'm way higher on Rahm than Scheffler at the moment.
All right, Alex, I'm going to give you one more tidbit on Colin Morikawa to try and sell you. Okay. Putting has been his problem basically the entire time he's been on, his PGA tour. It hasn't been good, let's say. It hasn't necessarily been that bad, but it hasn't been good either. He's switching his putting style this week. He uses what's called a claw grip. Now, I know I'm getting golf specific. I did this purposely for Alex here. He used to use a claw grip. Now he's going to a conventional grip for the long putts and the claw grip for inside of 15 feet this week. Now, I'm sure that doesn't make you change your mind on playing him this week, but is the ownership enough for you to get behind him at least 2x the 5% projected on the field?
I was thinking about it, but this thing about the claw grip, you're throwing me off here. But I think that he makes sense in like a millionaire maker kind of payout structure where you have to like the actual chance that you hit the pick isn't quite as important as the payoff when you do. So for instance, he has a 3% ownership about in our ownership projections, but an 8% chance of landing in the optimal. That's a lot lower than anyone else in the top range, but that's still double the chances. So in those times where he does win in those really high payout structures where a lot goes to first, that's the kind of tournament where you want to be trying to get that leverage.
Yeah. For my own player pool this week, actually, Alex, Scheffler and Rahm, overweight either or both?
I'm with David. Rahm is probably the guy I prefer, where he hasn't really put it all together very many times this year, but he's had a solid year. That's like the total opposite of Scheffler, who
won everything.
Yeah, he's won a bunch of tournaments, but if you actually look at the number of strokes that each one has gained, it's pretty similar. And people just like, I saw people tweeting about how Jon Rahm sucks last week, and I'm like, you can't buy lower on Jon Rahm. So at sub 10% ownership, he looks fantastic.
Yeah, the sub 10% is really intriguing me as well. I'm not going to lie. I think what it is about Rahm, he has the persona of being the best in the world, and he's so good at every statistical category. That's why people look at him and say he is the best player. And by and large, I think I agree. The thing that's holding him back this year is his putting just isn't as good as it has been in years past. And that's kind of trickled into the around the green game as well, just a little bit. But that stuff comes back around. It's not like he's losing that many strokes, nor did he gain that many strokes when he was good with it. So I expect it to come around, and when it does, he's going to run off some wins.
And can I say something to that?
Yeah.
If you just look at the purely stroke gains on the green, yes. But if you see the shots, he's close. You know what I mean? Like, a bunch of these putts have been super close to hitting. So I think, as you say, the second he gets it right, the guy's going to win by I think, you can't. At the fact that I think that even when I run my models, the initial ones, Rahm is still, under 10% for sure. I think that's a play. So anyway,
it's got to be. All right, we'll move on to our next. This is going to be called the second clicks. Most of the time, at least when we look at ownership, just of those six we already mentioned, even if we take the top three, it's well over 100%. So we can expect at most lineups in the Millie Maker to have one of them in there. So these guys, I believe, are going to be the second clicks in most lineups. Jordan Spieth at 10,000, Patrick Cantlay at 9,400, Cam Smith at 95, and Shane Lowry at 93. I think this is a tough one, Alex. Let's start off with you here. Let's talk about Jordan Spieth. I mentioned to you at the top, if he's not leading my ownership in my own personal pool, I typically have problems building lineups. I'm leaning in that realm right now. 10,000 is a hefty price tag. And it's not like he's coming with Jon Rahm ownership either at that price.
I feel like if Jason, you're off Spieth this week, that's like the ultimate bear sign.
He's going to be like number 3 in my player pool, and I'm off of him.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he's still going to be pretty high. He's just not going to be the highest.
The ownership on him is pretty high despite the high salaries. So that, like, I don't feel like very strongly one way or the other. Like, compared to Xander Schauffele, I feel like Spieth might be a better play because, like, their projection is pretty similar, but Xander has like much higher ownership. So I think that, like, everyone in this range, you should be considering taking some shots on. Spieth is probably not my favorite, but I think he's still playable.
The other three, Cantlay, Smith, Lowry, all priced within a couple hundred of each other. All three very solid options. Cantlay playing good right now. Lowry's had a bunch of chances to win this year. Hasn't gotten it done, but is an Open champion. And Cam Smith has, as we all expected, regressed from ridiculous form from January through March. So, David, how do you rank these three guys? All of them, I think we could make a case for to play. But if you only had to pick one, who would it be?
To play in the Millie Maker, or as far as the ownership level, or so ownership level?
Let's just say that somebody has won a ticket into the grand $4,000 Millie Maker this week. They've got one ticket. They've already put in Jon Rahm because they're backing us on the ownership and play, and they want to add one of the Lowry, Cantlay, Smith as their second guy. Who's it going to be for you?
Lowry, Cantlay, or Smith? I'd go probably Cantlay. I think he's, it's just like you'll get solid play out of him most of the time. I know he's missed the cut a couple times this year, but I think he's pretty good. I mean, Lowry, if I just let the model run as it would on my computer, I've got Lowry as almost the highest owned guy.
That's very close.
Yeah, so I think probably Cantlay just to go off of that a little bit, but yeah, I think that's probably the next person I'd pick.
Any Spieth for you this week?
Very little.
Okay. Alex, are you joining him on the Cantlay call, or would you rather have Mr. Mullet Man himself, Cam Smith, instead?
I honestly, I think Cam Smith, Cantlay, and Lowry may be like three of the best plays on the slate, just because like these guys are almost at the level of those higher price guys, but you're getting like significant salary discounts. So if you look in our top golfers tool where we have the optimal lineup percentages, like Cam Smith is second in that, Cantlay is third. So it's telling us that from a lineup construction standpoint, it pays to maybe go down to this range instead of spending all the way up.
All right, we're going to interrupt our regularly scheduled programming to talk about a super chat from Michael. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. This is a deep one. This is a deep dive. Chris Kirk and Thomas Dietrich in a 2v2 versus Trey Mullinex and Jordan L. Smith. Got to throw the L in there to make sure your feed lookups are correct. Alex, I'm going to let you choose this one first. I do like Thomas Dietrich a lot. I'd pick someone other than Chris Kirk, but I would probably go Chris Kirk, Thomas Dietrich as my choice. Alex, you choose.
Yeah, I feel like I agree. Like mostly because I just don't think Trey Mullinax is a good play this week. I know he won the Barbasol, but
Life changing for him, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's probably a lot of money, but like the field there was like one of the weakest I've ever seen in our database. So like I don't know how much that really counts for, but yeah, I just don't think he's that great a golfer to begin with. So he's a fade for me.
David, Michael Kim came out of nowhere to win the John Deere Classic a few years ago and then came over to the Open Championship the next week and put up a solid start. That's the only thing I can get going for Trey Mullinex. Do you have anything else that would make us pick Mullinex and Smith over Kirk and Dietrich?
Kirk would be the best out of the group, I think. Probably still not going to be too high on him, but yes, I think I would probably go with that pair.
Okay. All right. Lastly, just getting back to our Rankem here. Actually, first, we've got some decent amount of people here watching. First of all, thank you guys all for joining. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. It's the best way to get notified about when this content comes on air, and also the short form videos that we're doing for both the Odds Shopper and the Stokastic YouTube channel. So make sure you like and subscribe. Again, thank you guys for joining tonight. Cantlay. David, you may not know this. Cantlay, another one. I'm actually the fan club president of Patrick Cantlay. Short, quick story. When he got injured, I'm sure you probably know that. He was out for 3 years. Second tournament back was the Valspar, which is in my backyard. And I followed him around on Tuesday, his practice round for all 18 holes. He shot 63. I'm like, I'm going all in this guy. Nobody knows about him. I'm going all in. Came in second, so I have to love him after that. I hit him at like 300 to 1 on the each way, which was awesome. So he sticks with me. Now, what that means is I have followed this guy pretty much every shot he's hit on the PGA Tour. And he did not know how to play links golf until last week. Finally saw him play in tough conditions. He was in the bad weather wave and still came out on top. I love that sign going forward. Cantlay is my highest owned golfer this week in my slate. The price is right, and I think form is right as well. So also have a lot of Cam Smith. Decent amount of Lowry. So, Alex, as you said, kind of three of the best plays on the slate. I know there's a lot of ownership. I am fading Lowry in my higher dollar stuff just to take one stance there. It's going to be in some milli lineups, but the higher dollar stuff, I'm going to see if I can get some leverage there. Okay, let's go on to our next one here. This is going to be the major less crowd. All of these golfers do not have a major championship win, but at least signs of possibly being able to win one of most of these golfers, except for one. The first guy I want to mention, Victor Hovland. He's at 8,800. Sam Burns playing super good this year, 89. Ty Hatton is at 87. Tommy Fleetwood, 86. And the oddball, Will Zalatoris at 9,600. I know he's kind of a throw-in, a little different than the other guys. But, Alex, let's start with you. Victor Hovland at 8,800 would be about 40% owned if he was playing good, but doesn't have a top 10 since the Players' Championship in March. What do you do with a guy that's clearly playing bad, but his longer-term form says he's way better than this?
Yeah, I mean, like, he's been playing not up to the level that you'd hope, but his, like, form isn't that bad. It's still, like, 1.5 strokes around gains, so this is kind of a weighted average that I have over the last 2 years, which weights the most recent performances like pretty heavily. So doing that, I'm kind of coming up with the fact that he's like a very good golfer still.
He still is for sure.
Yeah.
Even if he tanked a 120-yard shot last week, he's still a good golfer.
So I'm hoping that people are scared off by this game log, where if you just load up his profile, like he hasn't done anything in the last 5 starts. So like in golf, that's going to happen. So I'm definitely wanting to take some shots there.
Dave, I will say, even through Hovland's bad, we knew he was bad around the green. When he came out of college, he told us he was. But this golf course, he should be able to keep it on the ground more. And his strokes gained and putting is actually pretty good. So maybe this is a spot for us to bounce back on Hovland. Are you going to get behind it as well, or are you seeing too much negative to get behind him this week?
Probably too much negative. Most of the people I have the similar projection as him just have a lower salary. So I think you can find a better play, I think, in my opinion. But, as you guys are saying, he's not a bad golfer, right? I mean, he's proven that. I think I love watching him play. I think he's got the right spirit, but I do think at the salary, it's a bit much, right? 9,000 starts to get towards the upper level. I mean, it's only 300 less than Lowry, for example. Yep. You've got a little bit of a decision to make if you're going with him. I'm going to be fading him.
Of these 5, are you playing any overweight this week, Dave? And I can rename the 5 for you.
Yeah, rename the 5.
Yep. Burns, Hovland, Hatton, Fleetwood, and Zalatoris.
Yeah, I mean, I untouched, no, but I think I like Zalatoris. So he's had a couple bad breaks this year where I think he was, there and ready to win. And I think he's, young. He's ready to win something big. So I will play more Zalatoris than a straight model will spit out this week.
Okay. Alex, how about you? Is Zalatoris your lean for an overweight, or are you going to go with Hovland? Or maybe somebody else?
I'm wanting to see that computer you're using, David, because when you said you're like, this is my brain on DFS, and you pointed to this supercomputer, I'm like, this guy is trying to like intuition play like us here? Like, what is going on? But yeah, I think it depends on the lineup where Victor Hovland is very low on this week, 6.6%. That's like among the lowest of the guys like up to that point in salary. Where Zalatoris is like 11%. So I mean, if you need to get some differentiation, Hovland makes sense. Zalatoris, I feel like I mean he's been playing awesome. I'm not sure like I'm gonna buy in quite as much just because I mean like you gotta buy low on golfers, and he's been super, super good recently. So I'm not saying he's a bad play, but yeah, I'm not completely sure that he's earned that price tag.
I think you're probably right, even with how bad the form has been recently. My lean here right now is Sam Burns at 8,900. I think he's had the best season out of all of these golfers, and I think he's shown fine form. Tommy Fleetwood's probably going to be your highest owned, just given the salary there. I think for me, I would, if having the option between Fleetwood and Burns, I think it would probably be Burns. And then the rest come in. Zalatoris, for me, he's done everything to win except for win. If he comes in second place this week, he joins a list of like 10 other golfers in the history of the game that have finished second at all 4 majors, which is be interesting. Louis Oosthuizen is also in that camp, who we'll talk about in just a minute here. But for me, 9,600, I would rather go down to Smith. I'd rather go down to Lowry, and I'd rather go down to Cantlay. So for me, it's just going to be not that much of Will Zalatoris this week. Okay, let's now move on to that group I just mentioned, Living the Life. Yes, there is quotation marks around the LIV. I am not very good with jokes. I'm sorry. But nonetheless, we're going to talk about 4 of the best Live Tour golfers right now. Dustin Johnson at 9,200, Louis Oosthuizen at 88, Koepka at 85, Bryson at 81. So let's talk about Bryson for a second. He said that he will be trying to drive the green on at least 8 holes this week. 1, 2, 6, 15, 16, 18, something like that. Last time he said something silly like this, at the Masters. He ended up, I think, missing the cut or not playing well at all. So, David, what do you do with these 4 guys who we haven't seen play 72 holes in a long time, maybe just the U.S. Open? Yeah, so we don't really know their form. I don't know what to do with these guys, truthfully.
I mean, well, DeChambeau has made what? I mean, he's missed almost more than half of the cuts of the tournament. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you want to get a low-owned guy and take a dart, that's a great dart to go for. It's a hard play to make, I think, especially, I mean, unless, again, if you're doing a really massive tournament, that makes sense. Oosthuizen, I mean, I've never seen him put together 4 days straight of really solid golf, right? I think he eventually just crumbles at some point. So I think that's a tough play. Who are the other ones? Oh, Kupka. I mean, that's okay. I mean, I don't think it's a horrible play. Better than the other ones. Who is the other one that's also a live golfer that you named?
Koepka, Johnson, Oosterhuis.
Oh, Johnson. Yeah. I mean, okay, fine. I think Koepka is probably the best play out of the 4, but I don't think either of them will make too much of a deal.
Alex, 2010 winner of the Open Championship played at St. Andrews was Louis Oosthuizen. In second place in the 2015 Open Championship at St. Andrews was Louis Oosthuizen. So, given that it's his only major championship victory, it's one of his second place major championships. Is there something with Louis Oosthuizen and St. Andrews Old Course, or is that just extreme variance catching up to him in those 2 spots?
Yeah, that's not something that I would look at a ton, because I feel like the performance on any golf course is pretty predictive of performance on like future golf courses. So I try not to cherry pick too much, but I mean, he looks like a fine option. The guy that I'm kind of buying in on a little bit is Bryson.
Oh my God, I thought you were going to say Brooks, and I was going to be like, I'm done. Done. Show's over.
Well, because Bryson is so well owned, and because like of his tremendous off the tee game, he's like one of the highest variance golfers there is. Yep. And that really benefits you in GPPs. And I know he hasn't made a cut recently because he switched to the live golf and they don't have one, but he did okay in the last in the Portland live golf tournament. He finished 10th or so. So, I think he's at least coming off like one showing where he didn't completely suck. So that's an improvement. And I'm hoping that, at 3% ownership, maybe we strike lightning here.
So I know one person that'll definitely pick Bryson, who's Big T. I think he picks him every single time. So
I think he's contractually obligated to now, to be honest.
I think so, right. So if you want to, at least I can make one prediction for you. Big T will pick Bryson DeChambeau.
Our buddy actually, Stewie, who's in chat here, I can tell you he'll be another guy taking Bryson. It's his favorite player. Said it's his most overweight golfer of the week. Now, Louis, I buy into course history, tournament history a little bit more than Alex does. That's no secret. If you guys have been following me, it's just something that I look at. I try and relate it to my own golf game and say, okay, well, if I play my home golf course more than anybody else, I'm likely to beat them on it, other than me going to their course and not knowing it that well. So for me, I do bump up Louis a bit. Does that mean I'm overweight him? Probably pretty close. I think he's coming in around 8 or 9%, and I'm somewhere around 12 or 13. However, he's bitten me with the withdrawal so many freaking times that I can't play him in anything important. So once DraftKings fixes that, well, guess what? He's on the live tour now, so we don't have to worry about it. Nonetheless, all right, let's cover the last rank here before we get into make the cut. These are the rest of the high-owned golfers on the slate. 4 names: Joaquin Niemann, Max Homa, Tony Finau, and Ryan Fox. My body did not like to be talking about Ryan Fox being 20% owned. Alex, we have not seen this guy in the United States play over here or play well basically ever. So what do you do with a 20+ projection on a guy that is probably not going to rate well in any models if it's a PGA heavy model?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I was going to ask you that. It looks like his performance this year has been like crazy. He's got, in the last 5 starts, he has 3 top 5s. He has like a first in the last 10, like another top 5. So this guy has been like lighting it up. His fantasy points per tournament's 81. That's like as good as some of It's like Cameron Smith's average. So
Hey,
I'm like, I don't know anything about him, and I feel like his performance to this point is gonna really drive the ownership. But what do you think?
yeah, I mean, I look at him and Jordan Smith, two guys. I already mentioned Jordan L. Smith, two guys that I'll relate to like Jason Kokrak of last year, where I didn't expect them to play good, and all of a sudden they're just playing good each and every week. Jordan Smith last week, hole in one, basically ruins the slate. You know, he comes in 20th and is still in the optimal lineup because of that. It's a tough one for me because I understand recent form really, I guess, anywhere should translate at least somewhat. I don't know. This is a tough one. David, how are you handling this? I don't mean to pass it off to you, but how are you handling this one?
So, yeah, I mean, I'm probably not as big of a golf fan as you, so it's very hard for me to deal with something like Fox, right? But I mean, if every site out there is putting his projection so high, I can't ignore him at that salary level. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, he will be filling a bunch of my lineups. I hope it's not a missed cut situation. That's the trickiest part, right? If he ends in 30th place, 40th place, I'm perfectly happy, right? I think it's he just like, he's like +5 the first day, and you're just like, oh god, I just threw away so many lineups. That's the thing I'm mostly worried about. But like, what can I do? You know what I mean? Every site is putting him high. I got to trust the guys that know more than me. So yeah, I'll have to bump down his ownership a little bit, I think, because it's too much. I do that a lot for the guys and those DFS players out there that want to know a little bit of what I do. Low guys on DFS golf slate, like, those that are like around the cut, 50% or something like that. I end up trying to go off of them a little bit more than what a pure model will come with too, because it's too many lineups that'll just crash if they have a bad day. So anyway, that's part of what I do.
David, you play on FanDuel as well, right?
So I got a good story for you. You cannot play DFS FanDuel in Connecticut right now. You can do Sportsbook, but you cannot just in Connecticut. But I live 27 minutes away from the border of Massachusetts. So this morning at 6 a.m., I drove over there, I bought in, and I came back. So I'm playing baseball and also golf. So yes, I'm playing this week. I can't do it all the time, but yeah, So
what are you out by like Hartford over there?
Yeah, exactly. Right by West Hartford. So right outside of Hartford.
Okay, figured. Yeah, I'm from Rhode Island, Rich. I live in actually going up to Foxwoods next week. What, dude? Tyler, you didn't know I was from Rhode Island?
No.
Dude,
well, Foxwoods
that
is a
is
great place.
wild. There is a total of 6 people in that entire state, and you are one of them. I am honored to be producing your show right now.
I love it. Yes, I will be heading home next week, or what I call home, to bring my my two sons up there for the first time. So I'm excited about that. Going to go to Narragansett Beach. I'm sure you've heard of that before, David, and all that.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
That's my hometown there. So, anyways, back to golf. Cool that you're playing on FanDuel now. Sad that you have to go over, since given that FanDuel literally has a deal with Mohegan Sun.
And actually I was at Foxwoods, and you can't buy into a DFS competition when you're on site there.
on property, really?
You could be at the DraftKings Sportsbook, okay? Inside the casino, you cannot buy into a DFS. Obviously, you can do a sportsbook stuff, but anyway, it's a whole.
You actually can't. You know what I found out today, though? You cannot bet on your mobile phone in the sportsbook. You have to bet. Anyways. Now back to FanDuel. We had a question in chat that I thought was a really good one. Ryan Fox is more expensive than Max Homa on FanDuel. Likely going to come with higher ownership, but Max Homa has been phenomenal this year. The dude hasn't missed a cut since the Farmers, and he's 9,000. So, Alex, what do you do in this situation with somebody like Max Homa? And David, you can take it after that. I'm playing him. I think he's a great play at 9,000. The value is just too hard to ignore. I don't even care about ownership. Alex, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, the salary with Ryan Fox is really everything. So Max Homa, it looks like his salary is very favorable on FanDuel, where Ryan Fox, it's like he's like way more expensive than DraftKings. So
yep.
I'll just play him on DraftKings and not on FanDuel. To be honest,
yep.
Well, Max Homa, he's super popular on FanDuel, but it does he's a good play as well.
Yeah, David, how are you taking it? Like I said, I'm just going to ignore ownership and try and diversify elsewhere.
Yeah, I haven't ran FanDuel yet, so I haven't even looked at those salaries. I'm planning on doing that obviously after this. But yeah, if he's if he's not as expensive as Fox, then I can imagine that he's probably going to be
$400.
Yeah, almost every lineup, I think, right? And whatever, he's going to be the wash of the week. It's okay. You got to play the chalk sometimes, and sounds like it.
Sometimes you got to play it. Sometimes the chalk is the chalk for a reason. Okay, between Neiman, and Finau. Finau never missed a cut in an Open Championship. Never finished worse than 27th in 5 starts. David, that enough for you to play him this week?
Yeah, I mean, look at Finau in the past. I mean, we'll say since the Mexican Open, he tied second there. He came in second in RBC, tied 13 to Travelers, 4th at Charles Schwab. I mean, he missed one cut since March. He's never missed the cut. Why not? You know what I mean? I see him as a very solid play this week.
Me too. Alex, are you joining us?
Which guy?
Finau.
Finau, yeah. So 8,400. I mean, it just seems like whenever you got a guy as good as Finau at that range, you can kind of just plug and play in any lineup. So I think he's a great option.
All right, now we're going to move on to our Make the Cut segment. And David, since you're a little bit new to the program here, this is where I'm going to fire off a name. You're first going to tell me if you think they're going to make the cut or not, and then if you're playing them outside of that. So the first one of the only guys we didn't mention above 9,000 is Hideki Matsuyama. Not playing well, could be hurt. Variable results at the Open Championship.
If you want a withdrawal problem, pick Matsuyama. Okay, I don't think he'll even play one hole. So that's I've been burned too much with him. A couple lineups maybe, but not even. He's not gonna make the cut because he's not gonna finish 2 rounds.
Not finishing 2 rounds. Alex, is he going to finish 2 or 4 rounds or neither?
I honestly don't have much. I guess he withdrew. How long ago was that? Just so we can kind of go over the way it went down.
He's withdrawn from a couple events.
So the last 5 weeks has been very weird. He's withdrawn from 2. He got disqualified from 1.
Right, he had this thing on his club or something.
It's a very weird time in Hideki's career right now. So
I mean, it looks like last week he had a bad week, but he didn't withdraw. So that tells me that. And then he finished 4th in the U.S. Open a few weeks ago. So probably not. There's some other guys that I'm really worried about from a health standpoint. Paul Casey, who seemingly withdraws every time. Yep. But he went to Live Golf, right?
And he did. He signed recently with Live, yep.
And then Harold Varner, he withdrew for undisclosed reasons last week. So I'm really uncertain. I just don't want to play him because I don't know why he withdrew, but it can't be anything good, right?
So I was an honorary observer at the Travelers, which was very cool. I don't know if you guys heard of that honorary observer thing. Really awesome. Varner was in the group. He did not have a good tournament, at least on Sunday when I was watching him. I was with Hadley too, who ended up doing very well that day. But yeah, Varner, he was a super nice guy. I'll give you that at least.
He's a joyful personality, so I do root for him. I like a vibrant personality out there as compared to Brooks Koepka, who is the most smug person on earth. Anyways, moving aside my hatred for Brooks Koepka, I'm going to go to Sung Jae Im next, the 24-year-old, maybe 25 now, from South Korea, 8,300, not playing well, not my South Korean that I'm going to be playing this week. I'm going to Joe Young, Tom Kim, riding that Thomas the Tank Engine train until it falters. Not playing Sung Jae, not making the weekend. David, how about you?
I think he'll make the cut. I am playing him. Not a ton of times. I mean, he's not by far not even close to the high ownership guys, but I think I think he'll make the cut.
Alex?
If I had to just pick.
Sung Jae.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd go make the cut. I mean, he's solid. It looks like the Vegas odds are really, really down on him this week compared to how he's been playing. So that's a little bit surprising, but I'd pick make a cut.
Corey Connors, known for his ball striking, at a tournament where I think short game is going to matter so much more. I don't think he makes the weekend. This is not where I want to play Corey Connors. How about you, Alex? Is this where you want to play Corey Connors?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same bucket where he's been playing a lot better than the Vegas odds kind of indicates. So I think he could be worth buying in on, because that kind of shows that the public's off him, but the recent form is strong.
Okay, so Alex, chat, Michael, thank you, also the guy that gave us a super chat, confirming that HV3's tracker account on Twitter had him playing rounds with Shane Lowry instead of playing the Scottish Open, for whatever that's worth. If I had a choice between the Scottish Open or playing drunk golf with Shane Lowry in Ireland and Scotland, I'd probably pick playing golf with Shane Lowry as well. So I'm okay if that's the reason, which, again, I have seen nothing about an injury. David, you didn't see an injury at the Travelers, right? Nothing.
He didn't have a great round, but that doesn't mean he's injured, obviously. You know what I mean? So he seemed okay. I mean, listen, it was like 96 degrees, super humid, and he was walking fine. He looked okay, so I don't really think it's a problem.
So I will say he's had some pretty good major championship results. He was in the final group at Bethpage Black a couple of years ago there at the PGA Championship. So not surprised. He's playing with Spieth and Rahm, so I am using those three in a lineup a couple of times, using the drafting effect that I will talk about in our building process here in just a little bit when we get into it. Go into a little more detail. Next is Cameron Young. Alex, this guy, amazing season, was flying through the projections. You and I talked about him like every week, like what is going on? I think we finally hit the spot of regression, though, and I don't think he's got a good enough short game to compete this week. I got him heading home again, just like Ben and I had last week on the show. He'll be packing up and heading probably to the 3M Open, I would assume. Maybe not, but he'll be heading back home east on Friday for sure. David, how about you?
Well, he's from Westchester, New York, which is where I was born. So, yeah, I'm going to go for him, but I don't think he's going to make the cut either. So,
Alex,
yeah, you know, I put a lot of early in the season bets on him winning, for example. Yeah. Anyway, it is what it is. What are you going to do?
Alex, how about you? Cameron Young, any?
I feel like people are too down on him. I feel like he has 3 top 5s in the last 6 starts. So if it's just like last week, he had a really bad week. The U.S. Open, it looks like he missed the cut by like 1 or 2. So it's not like he's been horrible like consistently. It's just like he had a couple bad days. So I'm still willing to see what he's got.
Came in like last place last week, Alex. Just I can't see his game translating to link style golf. That's my golfing opinion. That doesn't mean that he's not going to play well. I would just rather play him on U.S. style courses. Guy that has shown he can play link style golf, even though he threw away an Open Championship, maybe one of the greatest blunders next to John Van de Velde and a couple others, is Adam Scott at 7,700. I love the broomstick style putting that he has finally committed to. Seems like the stats have been getting better. I like the price. I don't mind it. He's in a good amount of my lineups. Alex, I'll kick this one to you first. Adam Scott, 7,700.
Yeah, I mean, he's solid. Like it's hard to have too much of an opinion on anyone in this range, but it looks like maybe he's the best in this bucket at 7,700 between Leishman. I guess this is Leishman, but he's been slumping a little bit this season, but the Vegas odds like him at 129-1, so that's pretty decent.
That's for Leishman, his country mate. Is that what you're saying?
For Scott.
Oh, for Scott. Okay. Well, Leishman also maybe in play. David, you can talk about both Australians if you want.
Yeah. So Scott, I don't have too much of, and Leishman, I'm completely off of this week at the 7,700 mark. I mean, the problem is like you've got even Aaron Wise, who I'm not really a big fan of, but he's at 7,000. These guys are at 7,700. Very hard. I mean, there's just such a 700 point, 10% discount. It's tough.
Tough sell. Understand Justin Rose, Alex. Oh man, I can't wait to ask you about this guy. Guy that was a favorite play of yours. I mean, I think I can say that, right? I mean, you loved playing this guy for a little while.
Yep.
And maybe I convinced you to come off, but has shown a couple of signs of life recently. We know he cares more about major championships than anything else at this point in his career. In fact, I'm surprised he's not a LIV Tour golfer. No offense to Justin Rose, just kind of fits in the realm of guys that are coming down towards the end of their career, not playing as good. But he's here, Alex, and are you playing him? It looks like he could get 10+% ownership as well. That's going to be a little bit of a turnoff, no?
Well, yeah, I mean, you never like that, but he's I'm taking some shots. I mean, yeah, I think he was a favorite of mine. Like, but then I've tweaked the model to try and improve the accuracy, and I've done a lot with like recent form versus like Vegas versus all the other kind of categories. And I found I was weighting the recent form or long-term form a little bit too much, which was pulling me onto Rose a lot. But like ever since I've tweaked the model, it's yielded really good results. So but that being said, Justin Rose, it seems like his form recently has been decent, like in terms of like a major, not one of the best of the field, but certainly good enough to play.
David, how about you? Justin Rose, any interest?
Not this week.
Okay.
Yeah, again, I mean, if I'm going to take play in the 7,000 range, he's not going to be the guy this week.
Mito Pereira broke my heart so bad at Travelers. I mean, I don't think I've had a worse missed cut this year, given the fact that he was 5 over in the event, battled all the way back to get 2 inside the cut line, only to miss by 1 for bogeying 2 of his last 3 holes. Then comes last week, top 5 after the first round, misses the cut. What's going on with him? Can we even think about playing him? Obviously, the guy almost won a major. And here he is, David, at 7,200, and nobody wants to play him. What do we do with him this week? I
don't have a play on him. I don't think I'll play him. He had a couple. Yeah, he almost won a major, so that's why. I think he was front and center for a bit, right? But yeah, I mean, after the high variance plays and not being able to hit the cut, it's hard, right? Hard to put him in. You don't want to miss on. I mean, you put him in a couple of lineups, I can understand, but you don't want to have another like heartbreaking cut, right? I mean, it's just too much.
Alex, compare him up with Keith Mitchell, who's a little bit cheaper, a little higher owned, but certainly seems like a good play.
Yeah, Keith Mitchell definitely looking like one of the better plays on the slate. So he's been exceeding his statistics recently. Like his recent form's very, very strong. It's really the price that doesn't reflect that. So I think Keith Mitchell is one of the better value plays.
All right, Alex, we've been to Scotland. So we might have a pretty good answer here. David, maybe you're a whiskey drinker and you have a better answer than us. But Mr. Ghetto Farm Boy wants to know. He gave us a super chat, so he's got to be interested. If we win the Millie, what is the first bottle of scotch that we are going to buy on Monday morning? Or, well, yeah, probably. You know what, actually? Liquor stores may not be closed on Sunday when the contest is closed. So the contest ends. We might be able to buy that bottle of scotch. Alex, what's it going to be for you? You have a DOC here. Is it going to be the Johnny Blue or that's blended scotch? I don't even know if that.
My heart is telling me like Monkey Shoulder because that's the one that we all drank on the Scotland trip.
So much of that.
But my head, it's telling me Talisker Storm because that's probably my favorite scotch right now.
David, I'm so funny that you bring that up, Alex, about the Monkey Shoulder. That was my first thought too. I'm like, I hope Alex says Monkey Shoulder.
Dude, they have this Monkey Shoulder like old fashioned in a bottle, and that's really good. Like,
wait, sold at sold at like grocery stores?
Yeah, I got it at like Meijer, like just a local grocery store, and
but I have to go get this.
Yeah, I recommend it. They always serve the like on the rocks one on the plane, but the Monkey Shoulder one's even better.
Oh, David, I'm gonna have to try this. But what is the bottle of scotch that you will be buying on Sunday night?
So Blanton's is one that like, a bunch of the guys here in Connecticut and me kind of go for. But maybe I'll just call my DK rep and tell him to send me whatever he thinks I'd want, right? And just let him decide. I don't know.
Let him go for it. I love it. All right, mix in a little bit of Monkey Shoulders being triggered. It's just so funny. Love it. A little bit of humor here in this show. Lucas Herbert, speaking of a little bit of humor, This guy won the Bermuda Championship like out of nowhere. His short game is ridiculous, but could be the worst iron player in the field. That's right, even with all these amateurs and like Todd Hamilton in there. Lucas Herbert might be one of the worst. But at 6,900, any interest at all, David?
Yeah, I mean, a cut is totally possible for him. If you look at the field, I think he can make the cut. I wouldn't put him on 20 out of 150, but you could put him in a couple.
Alex, I'm going to turn to another guy for you just in the interest of time. I don't want to keep Tyler here until midnight, although we could talk until midnight, no doubt about it. In fact, we could probably talk right up till lock at 1:35. But I want to turn your attention to a late add to the field, got in as the first alternate, Sahith Theegala. This guy has not missed a cut in 7 or 8, maybe 9 starts. Had a chance to win the Travelers. Yep. I like him, young kid, rookie. But this seems like a big stage for him. I don't know. He drove the 18th green with a 3-wood today. I don't know if that matters or not, but just wanted to bring that up to you. Sahith Theegala, 7,100, or would you rather go down to Keith Mitchell at 69?
Yeah, I mean,
I made it too easy for you. Talk about Sahith Theegala first.
Yeah, he's very solid. I mean, super young, and he's playing well. I mean, he almost won that tournament. Dude, I was winning 100K. I just needed him not to bogey, or I needed him not to double bogey. Yeah, and I would have won it. But I'm willing to take another shot. Let him win the money for me again. One of the guys I feel like I end up on this guy like every week is Stuart Sink, just because he's like always incredibly cheap, but like it looks like he's just kind of average at everything. But like at that price, I don't know. Like maybe you can talk me off him. I know he's a little bit of an older guy, so.
I'm not going to talk about Stu Sink. I think he's fine this week. I think he's played, the Open Championship here probably 3 or 4 times. He's a former winner of the event. I'm fine with him. I mean, I go against him up like at Hao Tong Lee, who's also got a top 5 at the event, playing well this year. David, do you have a lean on either of those two guys? Sink, Lee.
Yeah, so I mean, I like Stuart Sink a lot, just because, there's not a particular stat that he'll pop up at, but he's not hard. I mean, there's no big missing element to his game, I don't think. But yeah, I don't think either of those guys are going to be on any of my lineups this week. So
okay, fair enough. All right, last make the cut here for us, and then we're going to move on to a little bit of PrizePicks segments, give our hot takes, and I am going to ask a couple of questions on your guys' building process before that. So the last make the cut is a Live Tour golfer, former Masters champion Patrick Reed, and at that same price, Christian Bezuidenhout, who for me is playing really good golf and has just as good a short game as Patrick Reed, maybe not quite as good, but still nonetheless, I think he hits the ball much better. So Alex, do you play either this week, and do both play all 4 days?
Well, Patrick Reed, it looks like Vegas is really, really high on him compared to how he's played this season. And maybe because he finished 3rd in the Live Golf tournament last week. Who knows? Yeah. But I have to say I'm probably not going to play him much, because if Vegas is super high, that means everyone is super high. So I'm not Reed. Who is the other guy?
Bezuidenhout.
Oh yeah. With him, it looks like he's more solid, where it seems like all the factors are kind of aligned that he's a good but not great player, 150 to 1 this week, so that's definitely in the realm where at 7,300, a solid play.
David, how about you? Which way are you going, Bezuidenhout or Reed? And then we are going to talk Tiger Woods for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, both of them came in at around 1 to 2% when I run my model untouched. So yeah, I mean, you could bump them up a little bit if you want, or just eliminate them from the player pool. Totally up to you. I don't really have a hard stance on either.
All right, now let's talk about the big cat, Tiger Woods. Funny enough, I just saw some stats put out by DraftKings Sportsbook of the make the cut bet. Tiger Woods is 70% of the handle of those bets and 40% of the total tickets at minus 165. So obviously people think he's going to make the cut this week. Seen the numbers bounce around a little bit, but DK still has it at about minus 165 right now. For me, after the Masters, the first thing that he said when he walked off that, he said, I'm looking to play St. Andrews this year. That's what my main focus is. He told Justin Thomas at the beginning of the season he would beat Justin Thomas at St. Andrews this year. When Tiger says stuff like that, man, anytime you've tried to fade it in the history of Tiger Woods, it really hasn't worked out. Do you think he beats Justin Thomas this week? Alex, answer that one first.
Well, Jason, man, you were making fun of me for having Tiger Woods too high in the model earlier this week, and then I looked into it, and it's like, I had no clue what Jason was talking about. It was really funny.
I was so cryptic about it. It was great.
He's like, this guy that's 7,500 is like showing up as the second best value. He goes by his nickname. I'm like thinking this is some Euro guy that I've never heard of. So you got me. And then I looked into the numbers. It's like his Vegas odds are way juiced because he's Tiger Woods. So yeah, there's not really any data points that support that.
Are you going to play him?
No.
Okay. David, are you going to play him?
No.
I think he topped 20s. That is my prediction. I think that he does make the cut. I've been watching him. He definitely looks as good as he has looked in the 3 starts. I've been watching, the live from the Open. Every time he steps foot on the ground, there's a camera on him, so you get to see what he's doing. I do think he makes the cut this week. I really do. And I think he plays well. And at 7,500, semi-viable. I'm going to play a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Okay, now we have just about 2 segments left. And before we get into our prize pick segments, we're going to do a little bit of a building process. And as we mentioned at the top of the show, and for all of you that are joining, you want to check out our ownership projections here at Stokastic. They are free today, part of our premium tools typically, but free today for you to check out. We do offer our premium tools. We offer one of them free every day. But we've got so many more, like our Pro Plays tool that Alex, Ben, and I and more put out. I love that tool. If you are a MME player, you need to go check that out. It gives the rankings of all the golfers that we are playing this week and where we have them in our allocation pool. Not what we think about them, where we're actually owning them in our pool. So it's a great tool to go and check it out. Do so. And if you're not already a Stokastic member, use promo code PGALBL and you're going to get 50% off any pass that you would like to buy. I believe I have that right. It used to just be a week. Now it's any pass that you want to buy. So go ahead and do that. And David, before we go on, I want you to tell our friends and fans here about what you've got going on your new site. Really fun thing going on that I checked out yesterday and before the show today. So just give everybody the little elevator pitch here of what you got going on.
Yeah, so I'm trying to crowdsource sports betting predictions. Who's better than everyone in the world to come up with a projection than one person working at a website and trying to crank through a model? Go to the whistlesgowoo.com. And what I'm trying to do, I'm putting out all types of events, just starting it out right now. It's really just an experiment to see how well the crowd can pick. It's free. I'm actually giving some prizes because I believe so much in this. And I really am just so curious how, if people, you have to at least give me your email and, you got to click your email register link. But after that, totally free. I'm giving $100 for the Open Championship, 500. We can get to 1,000 people there. We'll see. But yeah, let's see crowdsourcing predictions. So I have like top 5, top 10, top 20 for 12 of the top golfers. Let's see how people do. I'm super curious. We're going to have a lot of different competitions coming up. We'll have some fun. We've got a Discord channel set up. I'm hoping to grow it into an entire community where people get to, just like we're talking about golfers all day here. People come, we just talk about all these different bets that we have up, compare it to what the sports books are putting, and maybe give ourselves an edge.
Awesome. And that's whistlesgowoo.com, correct? Do I have that right?
Whistlesgowoo.com.
Yeah. Whistlesgowoo.com. Got it. All right. Awesome stuff there. Okay. Now let's go into the building process. PGA DFS, we're going to focus on this, obviously, because that's what it's about. I have about 300 lineups. Roughly, I got the 150 in the $9 FanDuel, 150 in the Millie Maker this week. I've maybe made 40, and we've got lock at about 3-4 hours. So I like to wait until the very last moment. I consume all the information I got. I have my leans. I know which way I'm going to go, as I mentioned in the Pro Plays tool. I know where my allocations are going to be. My lineups aren't quite yet made. So let's start with David. What is your building process? I'm guessing because we've been talking, you have not made your lineups either. You take the same route I do.
Yeah, I mean, these majors, there's a lot of money on the line, right? So I'm going to run it early, see where I'm leaning. There's just no question.
Okay.
But yeah, probably, 2.5 hours before I'll actually run like the model that then I'll tweak the results from. It takes, golf actually is the sport where it takes the longest for my model to run through. The simulations are more involved. I try to, I have a simulation for the entire thing. It takes a little bit longer because you got to, calculate cuts and all that stuff. But yeah, that's basically what I do. I mean, again, you basically know where you're leaning. I, unlike someone on the show, actually do wake up before lock to make sure that I don't have a dead dud in there.
Luckily, are you going to go to bed tonight?
Tonight is not a problem. If anyone's going to sleep before lock, that's a bad mistake. Especially if you're in Chicago, I don't think there's big of a problem there. But yeah, so that's basically what I do, right? And so then about 30 minutes or so before I have my lineups in, then it's just monitor and make sure there's nothing crazy happening.
One last one before I go to Alex on this question. In terms of when you're building, is there a total ownership of the lineup that you will set a rule on to not go over in your lineup making, or do you not care that much about ownership projections in thinking that your model is going to give you something good anyways?
So what a good question. I think for a long run, you should never care about ownership, you DFS fans out there. However, there's only like a couple majors a year in golf, and it's a heavy price tag to go in. I mean, the amount that, I'm in is not a small amount of money. So hedging my bets is a good idea. So yes, here ownership there's not an absolute number. It's more of it's like based on what my initial runs are, there is how I calibrate it. But each person's a little bit different. It's not like I say, okay, nobody's in more than 50 of 150. It's right. My model wants 65 out of 150. That's a little bit crazy. Let me cap that person at 45 rerun and see what happens. So
awesome. Alex, same question to you and also your building process. I think your lineups are done. Is that right?
I've done a lot of lineups. I haven't made any of the high stakes ones yet because I'll do those last.
That's good to know.
But yeah, I think that okay, so ownership is very important, but like it's only important relative to like the chance that your lineup's going to succeed. So like the way that golf works in particular is kind of like a parlay where you're parlaying these 6 picks. There's not much correlation unless there's a weather correlation. And it's really the chances your lineup's going to hit versus the payout when it hits. So that's kind of the framework that I think of it in. But then like you can even like improve your odds a lot by mixing some of those high percentage plays with some sleepers. So that's kind of like the perfect mix is you get like 4 really good plays, 2 sleepers, and that kind of gives you the right balance of being able to cash a good amount but have that differentiation to get to the top.
I like it. Okay, let's move now on to our prize pick segments, the sponsor of this Live Before a Lock show. We thank them for their continued support. If you have not played over on PrizePicks, let me tell you a quick second about them. They are a player props-based contest site where you choose anywhere between 2 and 5 props from any sport that they cover. That's right, you can mix and match. And you can win from 2x all the way up to 5x, and even some of them are like 10 and 11x payouts, depending on the props that you pick. There's no sharks, no optimizers, no anything like that. A really cool site. And also use promo code. We're still on Awesemo for a $100 match on your first deposit. Go check it out in the Google Play or App Store or online at PrizePicks.com. And I already mentioned this at the top of the show. I used PrizePicks to my huge advantage last week by getting into the weather advantage that was there. And Alex, what I wanted to ask you on this week is, and this is something that our PGA projections go into a little bit, about the total score or round projected score. And for round 1, now these are just some of the props that PrizePicks offered. First, I want to talk about birdies or better. The line is set at 4.5 for almost every good golfer in the field. Is there anybody that you want to take the over on, just knowing that?
Oof, man, I would have to really dig. Like honestly, I feel like Jason, your article, The First Cut, which has the breakdown of each hole and how many birdies they're likely to be. I think that's a great place to look for that. I'm a little bit unsure how to, this is a course where I'd have less confidence in projecting like the scores of the golfers. It's not as important in DFS because everyone's playing the same course, right?
Yep.
But like the last time they played this was like years ago. And like I saw some people saying like the course is super firm this week, so the scores are going to be higher. I'm like, I don't even know like how to process that information. So like it looked like 5 years ago, this course wasn't, or was it 6 years ago? But anyway, the course wasn't that difficult. But Jason, maybe you're the golf expert here. What do you think?
So what I've looked at for PrizePicks first of all, in the strokes, let's just get this out of the way. Tiger Woods is set at 73. I mean, I'll take the under on that. Like I said, I think he's going to make the cut, and this is going to be an under par cut unless we get huge wins. I don't think we're expected to. So I'll take the under on Tiger. That'll be my first starting bet. But outside of that, 69.5 is the number for most of the stars, and then it goes up to 70, 70.5, and 71. What I would look for is a guy that's going off in the morning that's set at 71. So the one guy that I believe fits that category that I'm comfortable with is Adam Scott. Again, he's set at 71. I believe he's going off at 10 a.m. local time or somewhere around there. I'll have to verify that. I would take the under on him. That's for the strokes. And for birdies or better, if Rory McIlroy has shown the propensity in round one to get off to a hot start, now not in majors, but in regular events, he's held the lead a couple of times. I'd take the over 4.5 birdies. If I had to pick one guy in that one, it would be Rory. And then again, on the strokes, I would pick Adam Scott. Dave, any players, if you don't have the lines, I can tell them to you. I've got them on my screen. Any players stick out to you that you'd like to gamble on for round one tomorrow?
Yeah, I think what you nailed it, right? Rory does very well in round one. I don't know about majors. I haven't broken it down by that, but it seems like he's always kind of like absolutely, oftentimes he's got the best odds for just round one top finisher, right? And I think there's a reason for that. So yeah, I mean, if that's, if it's 4.5 birdies, sure, he's a good pick.
All right. Alex, is there any golfers that you want to target for tomorrow's first round? Maybe Xander Schauffele going out in the morning, continuing that good form?
Our model is telling us Darren Clark under 76.5 strokes.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
No,
yeah.
I'm just joking because obviously we're not optimizing our model for that. But I mean, I think these, like the nice thing about PrizePicks is the lines are pretty generous a lot of times. One of the bets I saw that jumped off the page immediately is you can bet John Rahm versus Harold Varner on birdies.
Yes,
and
playing in the same group. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's like John Rahm, I feel like is much better than Harold Varner. So I'd be very happy to take that matchup.
And if you're on the same wavelength as me, that Bryson DeChambeau is not good at golf, he's up against Justin Thomas in that birdies are better matchup. So definitely interesting to note there. Okay, I think it's time for some hot takes now, guys. We've gone over a little bit, but we always do that in our majors, so that's good. Okay, my first one, at the U.S. Open, they didn't have their full roster of guys, so this wasn't as cool of a bet as it is now. My hot take is, Tyler, I'm sorry, I know you want the world to burn, but no live golfer will finish in the top 10 this week. Maybe not super hot, so I've got another one for you. Ready? Brandon Wu, top 20. Maybe even a top 10. I'm riding the recent form there. His lag putting is fantastic. I love it. Dave, I just saw it. You got to drop soon, so give me your hot take, and then Alex and I will send everybody off.
Finau, top 5.
Oh, boy, I love it. Dave, thank you so much for jumping on the show with us. It has been a joy and a lot of fun. Alex, how about you? Hot take.
Thanks, David. Yeah, I hope your first stream on Stokastic. I know you've been on the Osmo streams before.
Yeah, right. This is my first Stokastic play, but that's good. Yeah, this has been a lot of fun, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, man.
All right, guys. Talk soon. Bye.
Later. As far as hot takes, I think Bryson's going to outperform expectations, which couldn't be lower right now. And then Tiger Woods will miss the cut.
Oh man, why did he do that to me, guys? Why did he have to do that to me?
Sorry.
I can't end on that. So we have to talk about something else for a second. Alex, the 3M Open. I know it's going to be a huge change to go from one to the other, but do you find that the models help us more in events not this week, say maybe in the more weaker fields where it matters and maybe people don't know everybody in the field? Because I have a point to this, of course.
Oh, no, I don't. I probably don't feel like that. I feel like the majors are probably the best chances to win money just because you got a lot of people like kind of, yeah, a lot of casuals, and it's not like they're picking bad players, but they're all kind of in the same wavelength of thinking. So as long as you like get the ownership right and you make the right pivots, you can get a big edge.
Well, to end us now, if you are not an Osmo Stokastic member, join again using PGA LBL. You get 50% off any of your subscriptions. And not only are you going to get this week's action and projections, but you're also going to get next week's as well at the 3M Open, as I just mentioned before. So you're going to get 2 weeks basically for the price of one. You're doing a weekly pass, and included in that, if you get the Platinum weekly pass, you're going to get all of the sports we cover. I know that you're diving into MLB every day, Alex. We've got NFL just around the corner. WNBA is going on. We just started doing content for that. So a lot going on still. Great time to join us here at Stokastic. So Alex, I think this has been a lot of fun. We've had a great crowd. Again, thank you everybody for joining. Make sure you give us a like on the way out. And Alex, before everybody goes, tell me who's going to be the champion golfer of the year.
Of the tournament?
Yeah, well, champion golfer of the year means the winner. That's what they call the winner of this event. Yes.
Oh shoot, man! I'm really showing that I don't know anything about the
Okay,
Open.
all right.
But
I got you back.
after like if one of us wins this one, like I'm gonna have to learn. But okay, champion golfer of the year. Like I don't know how hot to get here, but John Rahm. Like it feels like everyone's counting him out, so I'll go with him.
John Rahm, champion golfer of the year, a tone and ring that sounds pretty good. I'm not going to lie. Well, that's going to do it for us here on the Stokastic YouTube channel. Of course, follow us on Twitter if you guys don't already. At AwesomeDFS is Alex, and at DFSGolfer23 is me. Message us there. Messages in the Discord, on the Stokastic Discord. And until next week, everybody, good luck this week at the Open Championship. See you at 1:30 a.m. for the first tee time. And on the other side, everybody, cheers.